Well, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Palace fans throughout the world. Welcome to this special edition of the Red and Blue Review. My name is Ian Noble. I am hosting this evening while Nick Philpott is driving a London bus around the streets of South London somewhere. With me on the show this evening, we have the lovely Theresa Baker. Good evening, Theresa.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm okay. A bit more
Good.
positive now after the weekend. I've kind of been psyching myself up.
Positive after the weekend. I love that. That's excellent. And good evening, Fergus Tidd. Nice to have you back with us again, mate.
Thank you, Ian. Yeah, good to be on the show again.
Good to see
Looking
you. And your
forward
Palace
to,
memorabilia behind you. Fantastic. All good stuff. Putting the rest of us to shame. Well done. All good stuff. and a fixture of the show, of course, the Mr. Regular, Joe Holyoke in his kitchen, as always. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Hope you're well. Evening all.
Good stuff. And we already have a huge number of people joining us this evening in the chat. So welcome one and all to this special show. We're going to be looking back at the double defeat away on the South Coast and away in North London. Palace with 6 wins all season, 77 days without a win. Across the whole season, just 268 shots, 85 of them on target, 27 points, 21 goals, but we are still in 12th place in the Premier League after the results this weekend. And we were talking pre-show, we were saying, how the hell has that actually happened? But it is, and there we are. That's where we are at the moment. Before we get into looking at these games, I'll get the guys to do some analysis of them. I want to take a look at some of the other teams in and around the club. And unlike the first 11, we have some very good news from the other side. So the under-18s played on Saturday, the 18th of March, and they beat Leicester City 5-1 at the Palace training ground. Their next match is against Southampton on the 1st of April, and they are doing brilliantly. Well done to the under-18s. And then the under-21s on Friday, the 17th of March, they beat the Arsenal 2-0 in Premier League 2 at the Palace training ground. And their next match is away to Liverpool, I think, at the Liverpool Academy on the 31st of March. The women, they haven't played since we were last on air, but they play Birmingham City women away on the 22nd of March. And I just want a special mention for this coming weekend. So we're without any Premier League football this coming weekend as we enter the international break. But this weekend is termed the Women's Football Weekend. Palace are at home to Blackburn Rovers at Hayes Lane. They've already given away 1,000 tickets. If you go into the game, tell us about that in the chat if you're going along. But you can still buy tickets for this one. Under 16s go free, and adults, I think, are just £5. So if you want a football fix this weekend, it's a midday kickoff at Hayes Lane on Sunday, the 26th of March. So all well and good around the rest of the club. It's just the first team we've got to worry about. And with 10 games to go, we're sitting, as I said, in 12th place in the league. I want to get into the games. Let's do them in chronological order, the way they've gone. So I've asked T to lead on the Brighton game. But before we come to you, Theresa, let's just have a look at the lineup, Nigel, if we can, for that Brighton game. Because we were in the black kit, all feel good about that. But the big news as we prepared for this trip to the Amex was the fact that Vicente Guaita was missing. And you couldn't make it up, could you? The fact that we'd loaned 2 keepers out and we had 2 keepers injured from ball boy to the first team. There he is, Joe Whitworth, one of our own, sang the away end. So Joe Whitworth started in goal. The rest of the side, back to the side, please, Nigel, if we can. Thank you. Klein, Gahey, Anderson, Mitchell, Lakonga started in midfield alongside Doucouré, Schlupp, Elise Edouard, and Zaha. And I think most of us felt pretty good about that particular lineup. So, Theresa, you are standing in front of me in the away end at Mex, and I think you had a bit of a to-do getting into the ground, didn't you? I think
it was hideous getting into the ground.
Tell us about last Wednesday evening, if you can possibly put yourself through all that again.
Yes. I have to say, Sussex Police were absolutely dreadful that evening. They funneled all the Palace fans at the station before we even got on the train to Falmouth. And then when we got to the stadium, they blocked off half the concourse, narrowed it, and then they weren't letting Palace fans through to get into the stadium. And then another lot came off the train, and they just let them pile onto the concourse, and literally there was a crush. And it was only for there's some young lads in front of me that were screaming at them, that because I was caught up and it was literally crushing forward. Some young lads that were screaming at them to say, "Oh, there's a woman in here, get her out." That I managed to get into the stadium relatively swiftly compared to everyone else, but standing there in pouring rain was no fun at all.
Every cloud.
Every cloud. That's not a cloud. Anyway, carry on, T.
Anyway, so, you've all seen the lineup, which we were quite excited about. And we started off brightly in the first half. 55 seconds, Zaha had already had a shot on target. Woohoo! It was a hard-fought game. In total, we had 11 shots, 3 on target. There were some good efforts. Edward had an effort in about, I think it was 5 minutes, something or other. And he should have had a header that should have gone into the goal. I'm just going to pick out pertinent points to notice in the halves. I had to watch the whole game again today, so yeah.
Sorry.
So you don't have to. Is it Culwell? Was taking bits out of Elise all game. We had a free kick, which Elise took, got into the box, rebounded out, and Decore, bless him, went for a volley. But it went well wide.
But it was a shot, wasn't it? We've been criticising the team, haven't we, for not taking shots. The 3 games before this, three games without a shot on target, damning stats for sure. But an improvement, T, in this first half, do you think?
Yeah, we looked a lot brighter in the first half. There seemed to be a bit more urgency. The team seemed to be moving off the ball a little better. You could actually see from where we were behind the goal, we could actually see the team were actually not just waiting for the ball to land at the feet, but they were actually making spaces, which I thought was much better. And then there was a little bit of what was it? Was it about 15, 20 minutes in? There was a temporary floodlights kind of flickered. It came back on. And then... So we went
the light show before the game, didn't they? That was
they did a live show. And then completely against the run of play, at about 15 minutes, Solly, with an assist from Matoma, Solly Marsh came through our defence. If they weren't there, he found space and put the ball in the right-hand corner of the goal.
Whitworth at fault for the goal, do you think, T, or not?
Maybe his position was a bit off. There was a few occasions during the game where I was a little bit like, get inside the box. He was coming quite far out of the box during the game, but probably a little bit excited. It's first Premier League start for the club.
Let me stop you there if I may. Let me bring the other guys in. I just want your thoughts on Joe Whitworth and the goal, guys. Was it a fault, do you think, in any shape or form? Fergus first, then Joe?
I don't think so. I just think it was a really good finish by Solly March. He hit it first time, swiveled, hit it really early, which is what you've got to do. He did make an attempt to try and save it, but I don't think Goya would have saved that. It was a really good goal. You have to give it to them, unfortunately.
In agreement, Joe?
Absolutely, yeah. The way that he just, it was that one touch, pushed it forward and smashed it, and he really did smash it. It was a great finish. I thought there was a couple of really good tweets that went out just before you carry on, say, but didn't he score in the 15th minute? Solly March is the number 15, and there was loads of sort of weird stuff about, scoring in the 15th minute for me. Yeah, the 15th of March, Solly March. Yeah, very, very strange. But good goal.
No,
yeah, very good goal.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Joe, because I was going to. But weird stat, most bizarre. Anyway, do you think that they take the wind out of ourselves a bit, Theresa, when they scored the goal?
Yeah, I think it did. That wasn't really noticeable until the second half, but yeah, we started kind of. It's almost like the team was like resigned that we weren't going to score, which was a shame because I thought they were working hard. And then, of course, got to about, what was it, almost 30 minutes, 27 minutes, and Decore got booked. He got the first yellow. However, it shouldn't have been a yellow, in my opinion. There was Coolwell for Brighton that had been fouling Elise all game. There were some horrible fouls on Elise, especially the one that led up to the free kick. But they never even got booked for it. And there was a lot of times that Zaha was fouled. And I think because Zaha has this reputation that he goes down far too easily, nothing was given there, not even warnings. So then we went in for the second half. I'm just going to gloss over the rest because there really wasn't.
Well, before you get into the second half, I want to just touch on the challenge that Decore got away with, because I think I agree with you. I think the first booking was a tad harsh, especially how he'd let other stuff go during the game.
But that's why
and then there was another challenge.
Yeah, I think that's why he got booked for the first yellow, is I think because the ref had let a lot of fouls go. Then he makes an obvious foul and he got booked for it. The second one, we were lucky that he didn't get a red.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
Reckless. It was careless.
That's the point I was going to make. You know, the guy. You know, he's a second yellow card all day. It's and the Brighton players surrounded the referee. Dunk in particular was in the referee's face, and they were screaming at the ref to send him off. But once he made his decision that he wasn't going to book him, VAR can't get involved then. Yeah, and I think he got away with one. And then, of course,
I think we got away with one.
Yeah, and then of course Patrick makes the decision to haul him off at half time, which is probably the right call. Yeah, okay. Do you want to carry on then?
Go for his pocket, and then realised who it was.
Yeah,
and stopped. I think he realised that the first one was soft.
Mm-hmm.
Still quite early in the game, just
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's what happens now with managers. I mean, we had the same thing with Keita. You know, the Liverpool player, he was going to get sent off against us, and Klopp took him off at half time. So it's always a wise thing. I mean, he just a guaranteed yellow card. Again, on Twitter, I just saw people having 10s and 20s on him getting a yellow card, and even money. It's just easy cash, really.
Right, he's just pushed a referee, eh?
Yeah, he's certainly got booking in him every game, that's for sure. It's just the way he plays, isn't it? You know, trying to break the play up.
I like him. I like him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Aggressively.
Good. Theresa, let's talk about the second half then. We come out, Eze's on for him at half time. Good substitution.
Eze comes on. Yeah, I think it's the right substitution. And the lights go off. And we have about a 7-minute delay because all the floodlights failed, and then the scoreboard failed, and then the ref's comms failed, so the referee brought all the players off the pitch. I mean, it wasn't pitch dark. All the Brighton fans put the lights on their phones, right, because that was going to make a difference. And the second half, it
was a bit like a Cliff Richard concert at one point, wasn't it? How would I know what one of those was like? That's what someone's going to say. But
they didn't want it abandoned, did they?
No. We would have quite happily taken abandonment at that stage. Well, no, that's not quite true. We were quite positive in the first half. Second half, Decore was up for Eze. And it was like they'd all had some sedatives in the changing room, because it wasn't the same team that came out as the first team. I don't know what was said. Who knows? But we were awful. It was just horrible to watch. It was just like the players just went meh.
T, let me bring the others in. Would you agree with that, lads? We were that much worse in the second period than the first at Brighton.
Yeah, but they always look up for it, don't they? Every team looks up for the game against us. Once they realise that they can get in our faces, overrun us, run more than us, shut down quicker than us, just hustle more than us, and we're always going to be on the back foot. That's been the decline of from the start right the way through to Vieira's demise, about the decline of every single stat that you need to be reasonably decent at in the Premier League. We just, again, the heads went down when they scored, but we should be up. We've said this. I can't even say how many games we've said this. For the last probably 3 or 4 Brighton games, that we have not been up for the games, and up until then we've managed to avoid defeat. 1,466 days since the last time they beat us.
I mean, they were certainly due a win against us, weren't they? In as much as we rode our luck several times in these previous fixtures. The home game this season, I said it on the show afterwards. How on earth did we manage to draw that game is quite beyond me. I'm still in disbelief that we managed to get something out of that game. The smash and grab behind closed doors with the last minute winner. It was just the most wonderful thing at the time. The only sad thing is we weren't in the stadium to witness it. And even last season when Gallagher scored, and they were all over us after that, and they equalised towards the end. So we've certainly been no luck. And one Brighton fan put on my Facebook post. I was moaning about the stadium. They said, because I said, you're half decent. And I was moaning about the stadium. So they said, you've got to find something to moan about. And I said, yeah, certainly I have. But they said it's the best they've seen us play against them for the last 3 or 4 years. And they talked about the whole game, not just the first half. So
yeah, but they don't really have very high standards at Brighton, do they?
There we go.
I thought the first 15 minutes we were good, and I thought the second half was fairly even. We had, I don't want to steal Theresa's thunder, but we had that chance right at the end, which...
Well, yeah, right at the end.
Hamada just, how we put that so far wide, I'll never know, but...
yeah.
I'll tell you what, sorry, Theresa, I'll tell you what, one thing about the stadium, Ian, was 15 minutes to go. It was the third empty, and when you're beating your rivals 1-0, and you're getting up and walking out with 15 minutes to go, I just could not believe that. I actually, someone after the game said it was in response to a Brighton, derogatory comment. He said most of your fans dress up as empty seats, and I just thought that was fantastic because that's exactly what they are. The stadium is third empty.
There is something to be said about that. I mean, hanging around with whatever 2,500, 3,000 Palace fans down there, they're not going to want the egg. The other thing as well, and I don't mean this as a dig at Brighton, but a lot of people, I got Brighton fans. I'm married to my wife, and her family are Brighton. Loads and loads of them are Brighton fans. They all live in Sussex, but the thing is, Brighton is quite literally their second team. But they go to Brighton because it's their local team. Most Brighton fans are not Brighton fans. They've probably got a core, probably about the same as us, 15,000, 18,000. And then the rest of them are just jollies.
I mean, interesting you should say about Sussex, because the three of us, Theresa, Ferg and I, will live in Sussex. Yeah. but and you're right about the fact that people do support two teams. Apparently one Grimsby fan said to a Brighton fan on the way out, he said, I don't know what you're worried about, but you're a Man United fan, really. He said, no, get out. Of course I'm not. I'm Chelsea. So
I told you that story yesterday, Ian.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just retelling. Yeah. So, T, have we done the game? Anything else you want to say about the second half?
The substitutions were weird. Vieira pulled off Elise for Jordan Ayew in the 70 minutes. Then he pulled Edouard for Mateta in 79 minutes. And then he pulled Armada off for Schluppy in the 80th minute.
Or Schluppy for Armada, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, is that not what I said? Oh, yeah.
All right.
He pulled Schluppy for Armada, sorry.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite sure why he brought Elise off, because Elise was making chances. He was quick on that side. And at the end of the whistle, the one thing I will say is, regardless, we are Palace. We don't boo our own team. Mateta came up to applaud the away fans, and he got a load of abuse, and he kind of stood there absolutely bemused as to what? He'd only been on the pitch for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I just don't understand that. And
Yeah,
thankfully,
I'm with you on that totally, Theresa. It was very toxic in the
it
away
was
end.
horrible. I
Very
mean, we were the
toxic.
quietest I've ever heard in the second half. Come about 20 minutes to go, there was no very little singing. Big crow scarers though, frightened the life out of me. They did make me jump.
The thing is that the few players that walked over they just received loads and loads of verbal abuse.
Yeah.
So they why would you stick around for that? They just turned around and walked off. Zaha just walked straight off the pitch. He didn't even,
Well, he's done that a few games now as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I guess
So there's do you want to just talk us through these stats at the end then?
So that possession stat, if it had been possession in the first half, you would have seen a possession of about, I think it was about 75% Palace, 25% Brighton, which you can see why I was so peed off about the second half. Shots on target equal. I mean, shots on target 5. Joe Mickmouth, I think, did really well. I hate our short corners. I don't see the point of short corners. Get it into the box. Try and make an opportunity for scoring. And 20 fouls. I didn't realise it was that many, actually. Quite a lot. So, but only Decore and Ayew got booked. Only 2 yellows.
Yeah.
Ayew got booked in the 90th minute.
That is a lot of fouls, really. Usually you only get sort of 10, 11 fouls each. That is a lot of fouls.
Yeah, and it's surprising there weren't more players booked, I suppose. But I think Paul Bristow put in the comments earlier, the punishment for a foul is a free kick. A punishment for a bad foul or a deliberate foul is a yellow card. And I think some of the referees are far too trigger happy with their yellow cards. And this guy did let a lot go, which was probably a good thing in some ways. But those stats are fairly even, aren't they? That's not one team that's top of the league and one team that's down the bottom. They're fairly even, those stats. And with the away side, so we've got slightly less possession, but equal on shots. Shots on target, not much difference. We have more corners. If you look at the stats, and there's nothing wrong with those at all. So,
well, if you look at that over our last few losses, we haven't gone down like 8-0. It's all been 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Defensively, against the top teams that we've been playing, I think defensively have been quite decent, to be quite honest.
And interesting that Manchester City, on the back of their 1-0 win by their sort of tadly fortunate penalty against us the other week, they're going to beat Leipzig 7-0, Burnley 6-0. And when they were interviewed afterwards, Pep Guardiola, he drew reference to the Palace game and said, well, we managed to beat Palace 1-0, so, he's talking about, we're not far away in some of these games. We're really not. And that's what hurts the most, I think. And, the irony for me a little bit was that I thought we played pretty well against Brighton, considering where we've been in other games. We were definitely better at Brighton than we were against the Villa. And 1 or 2 other away games. And I'm thinking, and then Vieira gets the sack after that. So it was a bit of a strange timing for me when I first heard it on Friday, but I think slightly differently now. And we'll come to that a little bit later in the show. So thank you, Theresa, for unpacking that Brighton game for us. Anything either of you guys want to add to that?
No.
Not really.
No, not really. Just one comment, Ian. Dave Hart says that Ian loves Sussex Police. That was us
trying to negotiate my way out of an early release out of the Brighton game. They weren't having any of it, and I ended up in a bit of a row with one policeman. But less said about that, the better, probably on this family show. Okay, so we fast forward to Sunday. We've had the news of Patrick Vieira getting the sack in the meantime, and we'll come to talk about that a little bit more later on. One thing that we haven't really mentioned, we touched on it at the beginning when we talked about team selection, Joe Whitworth's debut, 19 years old. Not actually our youngest ever goalkeeper, by the way. Youngest ever in the Premier League, of course. But we've had 4 other goalkeepers younger than him that have played in our first team. So if you know who they are, without looking on the Palace app, then stick it in the chat. We'll be interested if you know the answer to any of those. I got 1 out of the 4 yesterday when Paul Bristow asked me at the Emirates Stadium. So let's move on and talk about the Arsenal game, Ferg. You and I travelled up together, and we were in the away end together. So talk me through that from the lineups first of all. Let's get the lineup here.
Okay, so
where you
we'll
go?
set the scene. 3 changes. Luca in for Lokonga, Ward in for Nathaniel Klein, and then unfortunately Anderson injures himself, tight calf, in the warm-up before the game. So Tompkins comes in to replace Anderson. So not ideal really when you're playing top of the league. Stuart Atwell was the referee. VAR was Darren England. We all love Darren England. Arsenal, they just made 1 change. Saliba was injured, so Rob Holding came in for him. And obviously Paddy McCarthy's first game in charge. Not too sure how long he'll be in the seat. But as you said, Ian, we'll come on to that later. So we kicked off the first real action, 11th minute. Schlupp releases Wilf down the left. Wilf cuts in on his right, shoots, hits the post, hits Ramsdale, and somehow or another manages to go out for a corner rather than go into the goal. And that just seems to be our luck at the moment. Own goals, offsides, penalties. We're just we're having no. If we had bad luck, if we didn't have bad luck, we'd have no luck at all. And I think that's how it goes at the moment. 16 minutes, Schlupp plays in Edouard, through ball. He's 1-on-1 with the keeper. You're thinking, yeah, go on, easy chance. No, easy save, poor effort. And then Holden clears it, and then the flag goes up, so it wouldn't have counted anyway. So it probably saved his blushes a little bit there. And you're thinking, okay, we've had a great start. Wilf's hit the post. Edouard's had a 1-on-1. You're thinking, okay, it's looking good. 18th minute, Arsenal had their first shot on target. So we've managed to keep them at bay for the first 18 minutes. Bearing in mind they're top of the league and at home. I think that was pretty good going. Saka crossed it. It deflected. It fell to Odegaard, and he shot. And Whitworth made a good save. So probably gave him a little bit of confidence. And then fast forward 28th minute, first goal. So Arsenal score. White passes it out to Saka on the left. He crosses the ball. It seemed like it crossed the area for ages. Went straight to Martinelli. And then you just knew what was going to happen. I actually remember saying myself, oh no, he's dropped his shoulder. He's gained half a yard on Ward, smashed it left foot into the bottom right-hand corner. So 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Let me just stop you there, Ferg, if I may, just for a second. Zaha to blame for 2 goals, not tracking back. Certainly the first one he wasn't tracking back. Joe?
We can argue about players not tracking back. Wilf he did track back, got beat, stopped. But the Martinelli thing, Ferg, as you said, he got half a yard. Good players only need half a yard.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Was Ward at fault, Ferg, for the goal, do you think? Would he could have done better?
I don't think so. Like Jill says, I just think, he's Martinelli's quality.
Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't really blame Ward. I mean, the fact that he went all the way across the area, which felt like slow motion, you could just see as soon as Martinelli got the ball, dropped his shoulder, it was always going to be a goal.
Yeah.
It did go to VAR, I believe, but it was given. So unfortunately, there we go. And then fast forward again, 41st minute, White steers across to Odegaard. He managed to have 2 touches and then pulls the trigger, and the shot just goes past the post. And then 43rd minute, Arsenal scored a second goal. Saka. Xhaka sends a teasing ball across the face of the goal again. Seems to be a running theme here. And misses Trossard, but unfortunately falls to Saka. He plays a neat 1-2 with White and then he curls a left-footed shot past Whitworth. Nothing the keeper could do there. Really good goal. And obviously just before half-time, it's a real sucker punch. You're thinking if you can get in at half-time, just 1-0 down, you've got half a chance.
Yeah.
2-0, it's an uphill battle. Played out 3 minutes of injury time. It just seemed like the longer the first half went on, though, the easier Arsenal were finding it to, pass through the middle, down the flanks.
Yeah.
It just looked like they were getting stronger and stronger as the half went. So then the second half, 53rd minute, Zaha breaks down the left flank, shoots with his left foot towards the near post, and Ramsdale, he's watching it all the way, and then he tips it over the bar. So it was a good effort again from Zaha.
Yeah, kind of save you expect him to make, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it was. But, at least we're getting these shots on target now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you're thinking, if that had gone in, but 55 minutes, Arsenal score again. Xhaka plays a 1-2 with Trossard. He plays a lovely ball, splits the defence, and it just leaves Xhaka with just Whitworth to beat. And he squeezes it left-footed, bottom left-hand corner. I think he was falling, actually, as he hit it. I think he was stumbling, but it went in.
Can I just come in there, Ferg? When I watched that third goal, I just thought we should have done better defensively. We gave him far too much room, because Granit Xhaka passed the ball back to Trossard first, and then he sort of made his move, and he passed the ball, split the defence. We need to do better than that.
But he got a goal side, though, didn't he? That was the thing. It was the weight of the ball, but he'd already made the run, and like you say, he saw that run, so the ball was easy. But when you're splitting centre backs, and one of them, unfortunately, is Tompkins, you don't even have to rely on pace. You just have to rely on a bit of guile, and you're in. And when you're in 6-7 yards out, someone of his quality, they're going to score probably every time. But that's the one I said. I think, was it a challenge from Ward? I think that third goal I think it's an own goal, but
give it to Wardy, own goal.
Yeah.
And then you've got a rookie goalkeeper. I'm not blaming Whitworth, but maybe a world class goalkeeper saves it. I don't know.
I anticipates it. Yeah.
So we're 3-0 down. Game's over, then. It's 3-0.
3-0 down. Well, yeah, you would think so. 59th minute, Tompkins gets booked for a foul on Trossard. And then 63rd minute, lo and behold, we get a goal. Elise swings in the corner. I think it strikes slap on the chest. I don't know how much he knew about it.
They checked the handball, didn't they?
Yeah. And then he reacts the quickest and just sweeps the ball into the goal with his left foot. Yeah. And then you're thinking, game on, 3-1,
Yeah, all the Schlupp haters out there. Good old Jeffrey Schlupp, goal machine.
Yeah, well, I was going to come on to that. Well, I'll come on to that towards the end, Ian. But I thought Schlupp had a good game yesterday. But anyway, so he scores the goal, and you're thinking, okay, 3-1. And it was great because the atmosphere, we're all singing, we've scored a goal, And, shut the Arsenal fans up because the Ashburton Army, which is what their fanatics are called, our equivalent, they've put them right next to the away fans in the Emirates now. So there's a little bit more atmosphere. You couldn't hear the rest of the ground; you could only hear them. But it was just nice to be able to sing something back to them that we'd scored a goal, and they found that quite amusing. And then 72 minutes, Schlupp feeds Zaha in left channel, and Will fires a low strike. First time at goal, it creeps agonisingly wide past the right post. And you're just thinking, if that had gone in, it's 3-2, and then all of a sudden Palace are in the ascendancy. You're hoping Arsenal might get a little bit nervous. And you're thinking, we might actually have a chance here. But no, 74 minutes, Arsenal, fourth goal, Saka scores again. Again, poor defending. Palace, they failed to clear the lines. Tierney whips in a low cross, and Saka shoots first time left foot, bottom left-hand corner. And then it truly is game over. And then I just think it's damage limitations really for Palace. It was let's just see the game out. Let's not concede too many goals, because I think goal difference is going to potentially come into play towards the end of the season.
So Paddy McCarthy, in his post-match, said he thought the fourth goal was offside.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was checked, was it, by VAR? Was it checked? I don't remember that one.
I think it was checked. Yeah, I think
it was checked. Yeah.
But not given, and he's in an offside position, and needs to. So keeper can't see him, can't see the ball, just in the middle. That was Jesus.
So they checked it for the block, didn't they? Or he was blocking his view. Yeah.
He's never going to save it anyway. You can see with that freeze frame there, he's almost at full stretch, and the ball's past him, so he was beaten for pace as well. Nothing he could have done for me for any of the goals. Our goalkeeper, just unfortunate that we're all willing him to do well, and then, obviously the two games that he comes out against them, and then he comes out against tabletop in Arsenal. Or Arsenal, although I will say, and looked like they were back to their best. Remember the passing game that they had going about 3 or 4 years ago? That's what they look like. And any time that they're going to turn on anything like that, they won't just do that to us. If they carry on playing with the way that they're playing, with the team spirit that they've got as well, they will hammer much better sides than us out there.
Certainly, absolutely right. So I asked if it was offside. Was Jesus offside? Lindsay Dawn says yes, it was. Lindsay, nice to see you in the chat, and we'll get you back and Bruce back on the show from the DSA quite soon, I'm sure. So thanks for joining us tonight. Full time then, Ferg. There we are.
Full time, 4-1. 4-1. Match stats: Arsenal 62 possession, Palace 38. There we go. 15 shots on target for Arsenal, 8 for us. Only 5 on target for shots on target, and 4 for Palace.
But look at those shots on target, Ferg. That's not, 5-4. That's not too shabby, is it? Considering where we've been, where we were 3 games without a shot. We had 3 on target against Brighton, 4 against Arsenal. I'm sort of
mad.
But the difference is, Ian, 5 of those shots, 4 of them went in for Arsenal, and only 1 of ours. And that is the telling difference between the two teams. So another defeat. So that's 13 now without a win. Funny enough, and I said I'd mentioned it earlier about Schlupp. He was the highest rated player for Palace, 7 out of 10. Like I said, the only booking was Tompkins. It's funny because there was quite a lot of negativity around Schlupp during the game. A lot of people shouting, why is he on the park?
Behind us was on the right go, wasn't he?
And I actually thought, you think of all the chances that we had during the game, and Schlupp was involved in all of them, and he scored the goal. So his contribution was really good. I don't know what other people are watching. I know he's not a Conor Gallagher like we had last season, or a Kabai or anything like that, but he works really hard, and he always seems to be involved in one way, shape or form.
Yeah. So do we think Jeffrey Schlupp had a good game yesterday, yes or no? Tell us what you think in the chat, for sure. A bit of a free hit yesterday, wasn't it? Which is why I think maybe they pulled the trigger, come to you in a minute, Joe, why they pulled the trigger on Vieira before the game rather than after it, in as much as, we probably weren't going to win at Arsenal anyway, and it just gives an extra couple of days to be thinking about it. And if we had managed to get something at Arsenal, let's say Vieira was still in charge and we got a credible draw, or even, heaven forbid, won the game, you then couldn't have sacked him. You then would have had to stay with him, wouldn't you? So maybe that was the rationale. I don't know. Joe.
Yeah, just quickly. I know Theresa wanted to say something before me, but just quickly. I know you're saying about people giving players stick and stuff, but you really can't. You can't see the game through. Everybody's see the game as other people see it. It's why you can have 2 people sitting next to each other, and they'll see the game in a different way, or they'll just have a different attitude towards different players, and then of course, Schlupp is probably a victim of his own sort of laziness sometimes. We're getting humps, and then I know he scored, but you just have it's like me with Ayew. It doesn't matter what Ayew ever does for me. He's two goals in 70 games. I haven't done 2 good bathrooms in the last 70 bathrooms. So I'm a better Tyler than he is footballer. But everyone can turn around and say that he works really hard. And I always used to say, and I know Theresa, I know you say that all the time about him, that he is probably our hardest working player, and that is it. And I used to say myself, before anyone else ever says it, that all I ever wanted off of Palace players was maximum effort. So I'm almost should shut up for going on about Ayew if he does give the most amount of effort. But the thing is, now we're in the Premier League, and I said a long time ago, all I wanted for us to get in the Premier League and be like Stoke. And unfortunately, I think Stoke went down after 9 seasons.
10 seasons, so it's this season, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So I really hope that all those years ago, it's not going to come true what I said.
Be very careful what you wish for, I think is the answer to that one. Theresa, sorry I didn't see your hand earlier. Come in now, please.
Oh, it's just all right. I was just reading through the comments. One of them was from Paul Grant, who thinks that we've flogged the match analysis to death. And can we get onto the issues that really matter now, like the owners and who do we
We're doing that. We're going to get onto that now. Sorry, guys. We've done the matches too much.
That we read their comments.
But before we do that, we must do a little loan watch, all right? So bear with me. If you want to go and make a cup of tea for 5 minutes, that's fine. Loan watch. Jezreel Saki scored Charlton's second goal and got the assist for their opening goal with a 2-1 away win at Cambridge United. Boo, Charlton won. He's now got 10 goals for the season. Should we get him back? Surely he's got a feature next season for us, hasn't he? Rob Street started for Shrewsbury. They lost 2-0 to Ipswich. Killian Phillips missed out due to an injury. Scott Banks continued to find form when his return from injury came on with 20 minutes remaining, assisted for Bradford's equalising goal against our friends from Hartlepool United. Bowie earned another start for Hull City in a 1-1 draw at Reading. Remy Matthews played the full 90 in their 1-1 draw with Kilmarnock. Malachi Boateng had to go off at half-time due to an injury in Queen's Park, 2-1 win over Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Luke Plangy came on as a first-half sub for Lincoln, but couldn't get on the score sheet. Lincoln lost 3-0 to Peterborough, and John Kamani Gordon was an unused sub for Carlisle. I don't get that one because he was playing and scoring for fun earlier on. Now he can't get in their side, so they must be half decent. Jacob Bryan, of course, played for RWD Molenbeek and a 4-0 win over RSC Anderlecht 2. And there's the loan watch round up there. These lads hope they get good experience out on loan. And I think of all of them, pick of the bunch for me, Scott Banks and Jezreel Saki have got to feature next season for Crystal Palace in some shape or form. There we go. So the main issue of the day, Gel, before we go on to that, come in then, please.
That would really please me to have Raksaki and Elise out on the right. That's presuming that we are still in the Premier League. Because if not, Elise will want to be off.
Well, if we're not in the Premier League, let's say we do get relegated after 10 seasons in the Premier League, then the likes of Raksaki and the other boy, Rob Street, they'll be even more important to us because
they won't be with us.
Well, the kids will. The kids, of course, they'll be with us. They won't go anywhere. They'll be with us. The likes of Bowie and some of the others, Scott Banks, Rob Street, they'll all be wanting to vie for their place in the Championship. Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that because we're not going down. We've got 10 games left. We need to think positively. We're still 12th in the league. How on earth are we still 12th? Goodness knows. But now Vieira's gone, now the dust has settled on this announcement, I want to ask you guys, and I want to ask the people in the chat, do we feel differently now about the sacking of Vieira than we did on Friday morning when we first heard it? So who wants to put their hand up like Patrick is there and come in and give me their views on that? Do we think differently now about how we felt on Friday morning? Theresa first.
Yeah, I mean, I was gutted when they said that they'd sacked Vieira. And now, having seen some of the stuff that's coming out, and there obviously was big discord back, in the back room that we knew nothing about. I kind of, as much as I love Vieira, I kind of think it probably is the right decision.
Interesting.
But
so you changed your mind from Friday morning, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Fergus?
I wouldn't say I was shocked. I was a little bit upset. I would have given him a few more games. I think, you know, we were on a difficult one. We weren't playing terribly. You know, we were picking up points against the likes of Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle. We were unlucky at Villa. You know, scored a goal, 1-0 early, ruled offside. We go down the other end, score an own goal. Yeah, just a difficult one. I think there was probably, like Theresa alluded to, I think there was probably more going on in the background that we didn't see. I don't think it was just about results. I'd heard that there was a massive bust up in Turkey on the training ground. One player was complaining about the youth team players, you know, how they were being tackled, you know, some dangerous tackles going in. And there was a big falling out. I think 2 players were singled out for that. They were dropped for the Fulham game, and then all of a sudden reinstated just before the game, and then it results in our worst performance in, I can't remember, a long time. So there was obviously a lot of discord going on in the background that we've not been privy to. And the fact that Parish and no one in the club actually came out and made a statement, that they did a written statement for Sky Sports, but nobody actually came out and explained their thinking behind why he's gone. And Parish was cornered coming out of the training ground because there was a car blocking his exit, and he didn't really have a choice. He was kind of put on the spot, and even then his explanation was a bit
lame.
You know, yeah.
He joked about it. He joked at first, said, "You've cornered me," you know. You cornered me, you know, and then he answered the questions. But you're right, you know.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not shocked he's gone, because the results aren't great. But I would have hoped that Palace would have had a plan in place, and that was the reason for him going. And it doesn't appear to be the case. So I'm thinking, you know, did he pull the trigger too early? You know, should he have waited? Only time will tell.
I'm kind of glad though I didn't get to see Arsenal fans gloating about how good a player he was and how shit a manager he was. I don't think that would have been nice.
They tried to sing about Vieira a little bit yesterday, but failed miserably. Gel, what's your view? Welcome, Nick, by the way. What's your view, Gel, on this? Do you think differently now than you did on Friday?
No. Still would have done it 4 weeks before that, or 4 games before that. Wouldn't have given him as much time. The other thing as well is I haven't heard hardly any of the rumours that you guys have, that you might have heard. Although I did think, and I said to Nick, something definitely happened between him and Mateta. When it happened, I don't know. But Mateta was played in one game and then completely dropped from the squad. So, but they were in England. That weren't while I was away. So, but for me, you know, like I said, he lost me completely. Apart from having no wins in 2023, and then just trying to be a Hodgson and defend a 1-0 defeat every time, was when he got rid of Sean Derry. Sorry, you know, I'm not interested in who you are. I just thought he was a tougher character. You know, he used to want to fight people on the pitch. But obviously, in the dressing room, he seems like a bit of a Bambi, and that's not what we need. We need tough characters to, you know. I know apparently it's not the modern way to be balling these players out, but sometimes you do need to kick ass. You know, you need to stand up, be counted, and if you don't want to be counted, get out. Just put your hands out and say, "I don't fancy this." You know what I mean? Then they can clear them out. They can wheedle out, you know, the people that haven't got the bottle for a fight. They don't have a stomach for a fight, because that's what we need for the next. You know, we need to the end of the season. We need to fight for every game, and if that means that you know we lose players through sending offs, through tough tackling and doing whatever, then it is what it is. I want people to fight for our club like we would.
Indeed, Joe, you're spot on. I'll come to you in a minute, Ferg. In the chat, Alex Crook on Leon Sound says, Alex Crook on TalkSport said today he heard from Palace people that the players found Vieira aloof. Interesting. Nick, welcome. How you doing?
Hi, mate. I'm good, man.
Parked your
all
bus
good.
up and you're back with us.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you feel any differently than you did on Friday to this?
I've been all over the social media, clearly not Facebook, but on Twitter, and I've been following it in great detail. A lot of people have been saying we went too early. We should have given him a couple of games into the easier run that's coming up. A lot of people feeling like Jill said that he should have gone weeks ago. And it was quite interesting to read a report that's actually saying the board very seriously considered terminating it back in February. And so there's obviously something behind the scenes that we don't know, we don't get to know. And I think that that point about being aloof is probably something that's going to come out a little bit more. There was a bit of a them and us situation between Vieira and the playing staff.
Indeed. I mean, one thing, Paul Bristow, thank you for this information that you sent through to me today. In the last 10 years since our promotion, only 6 teams have changed their manager with 11 games or less remaining, with the threat of relegation hanging over them. 2 survived and 4 were relegated. Right, the 2, I won't go through them all, but the 2 that survived were Southampton in 2018. They sacked Pellegrino with 8 games remaining in 17th place. Mark Hughes came in and kept them up. And then in 2015, Sunderland sacked Gus Poyet with 9 games left. And in 17th position, Dick Advocar kept them up. So it's not easy. Whoever comes in, the odds are stacked against them to keep us in the Premier League now. Jill.
I just because there will be some people out there that literally won't know what aloof means, right? And no, honestly, I know we can, but yeah, we're a bit older, and there'll be other people, but I've just put into Google define aloof, and it says not friendly or forthcoming, cool and distant. That is absolutely the opposite of what you need to be a people person and manage people. Ridiculous. And the other thing as well, he said at the start of the show, didn't Joe Wall come out and say, it was all a surprise to us. Like, how can it be so different?
The players had no idea this was going to happen.
How can they have literally no idea when it sounds like none of them bloody well liked him?
Well, we travelled up on the train yesterday. With Paul Grierson, the interview guy.
Yeah.
And he said he found out on his way to work on Friday morning, and he had no idea whatsoever. Now, he wouldn't be the first person to know, would he? But he's inside in the club. If things were going horribly wrong, you'd think he'd have some kind of inkling, maybe, but not a chance. Not a
7
chance.
a.m. phone call, wasn't it?
Yeah. 7 a.m. phone call on Friday morning, which isn't the best way of doing things. But I also heard a rumour that they tried to get hold of him on the Thursday and couldn't. Nick?
Two very quick things. The best comment of the night in the chat, somebody said they thought aloof meant a Geordie baguette. They thought aloof meant a Geordie baguette. Aloof. Aloof.
Tremendous. I love that. Well done, whoever said that.
Ian, can I just go back to the Sean Derry thing? Because something else we found out on the train yesterday was that Sean Derry's he's never left the club. He's been placed on gardening leave.
Yeah.
So
we discussed this the other day. Yeah, no one knew that he did.
I think we could well see him back. Actually, I think we could well see him back in the club in some.
I hope so.
Yeah.
My second point was going to be: do you remember a couple of shows ago I was talking to you about Carl Davis on Twitter, who covers these different matrices? Okay, and he's very, very accurate. Okay, just going back to your point, Ian, a minute ago about the odds are against the new manager keeping us up. Well, just to give you an absolute clarity, this is up until including yesterday's Arsenal fixture. Okay, that Palace are still 10% or less chance of going down.
Really?
So those of you who are out there, and this is not on one matrix, but on 3 different ones combined, the odds are I think it was at 12%, and one of them came up at 9%. So the average came out at 10%. So all you naysayers out there, okay, that it's the wrong decision, hold your fire.
Are we still then the most least likely of the bottom 9 teams to get relegated?
Yes.
Really, I find that very, very surprising.
And
given
the prediction is we will finish in 13th or 14th place on 40 points.
Well, I just hope I just hope they're right. You know, I hope they're right for once.
If you look at some of the other teams below us, Ian, and they're running, you know, they've still got that difficult patch of games to come up.
Yeah,
so
they have.
There's always that.
Yeah, they have.
The only good thing from our point of view is that we want as many of those teams below us playing as many as the top 4 or 5 as possible, because they'll be going for Champions League places.
Yeah.
And they will literally be firing on all cylinders and having to get results and not sitting 8th, 9th, 10th, coasted in the last 5, 6, 7 games, which would really hurt us. So that's what we need, is that those bottom 4, 5, 6 to be playing the top 4, 5, 6 that are shooting for Europe, and the others are, you know, that's the only thing that's going to really be in our favour.
And well, someone will have a look at those fixtures and tell us what the other teams' run-ins. And as we get to sort of 5 or 6 games away, you have those fixture lists come up, don't you, and comparisons all to look at. And I don't know about you, but I was sitting there watching Sky Sports Super Saturday on Saturday afternoon for nothing better to do, really. And I'm watching the goals going for Villa. And I'm going, come on, the Villa. You know, they're beating Bournemouth. And I'm going, come on, Brentford, you know, because they're playing Leicester. And I'm going, come on, Spurs, because they're playing Southampton. And Wolves Leeds, I didn't really know what to think, you know. So you're thinking the whole time about the other teams below you, looking over your shoulder, hoping the results go your way, Jill.
But that one more thing for me. Sorry, I keep chatting. So you will not hear a phrase used more towards the end of this season than 6-pointer, because every single game that we've got now is a 6-pointer, quite literally.
Indeed, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So, so having discussed the fact that Vieira's gone, obviously nothing we can do to change that now. Who do we want in to replace him? So we'll all have our own thoughts on this. And here's Paddy. I thought he handled himself brilliantly in front of the media, both before and after the game. He was obviously asked questions like, you know, are you going to get the job and all things like that? And he was just so level-headed. And I love his temperament. The other thing that we heard from Chris on the way up yesterday was that he's loved in the club. Everyone loves him. You know, Paddy McCarthy, you know, all the players know him well and all the rest of it. And I think we could do a lot worse than give him the role for the rest of the season. I don't know what you guys think about that. We've got, I think, a graphic on the other. No, let's take that one down for a start. Let's look at
get rid of that
these
one.
are the runners and riders. You know, these are the jockeys. These are the people in the race. Apparently, it's a bit of a small slide there, especially if you're watching on a phone. But look, who would you have? Let's come to you first, Fergus. Who are you going to pick, mate?
Out of all of those,
yeah.
I don't know. Is Lucien Favre on there, isn't he? Lucien Favre, Adi Hutter, possibly. But neither of them have got Premier League experience. If for me, Ian, I would probably stick with Paddy McCarthy, bring Sean Derry back and see out the end of the season, because I just think you need somebody that knows the club inside out. You need somebody that the players look up to. And those two guys, you know, they'd die for the club, you know. So, and that's probably what we need between now and the end of the season. Like you said, when we spoke to Chris yesterday, we asked him like how the players have reacted, and he said that Paddy McCarthy brought all the first team round. He said to them, "Look, Vieira's gone. I know you're all sad." He said, "But you're all professionals. You're in a role that people would die for. You're blessed. You're professional footballers. You need to play for the club, play for the badge." Yeah. And Chris said that it made the hair stand up on the back of your arms. That, you know, and that's what you need. You need somebody like that, talking to the players, motivating them. Okay, we lost 4-1 at Arsenal in his first game, but he was hamstrung a little bit. Players out injured. He couldn't play Lukonga. So I would probably stick with McCarthy and Derry. And then at the end of the season, you can make an informed decision rather than a knee-jerk reaction one.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks, Ferg, very much. Other views from the rest of you?
I agree.
Nick?
I keep Paddy until the
Theresa
end.
first, then Nick. See?
I would keep Paddy until the end of the season, and not panic buy into a manager. The fact that they've sacked Vieira without a decent plan at all in the first place is concerning. With no idea. I mean, they were like, "Oh, we've been talking to managers for months." Well, obviously, you haven't got anyone. So keep McCarthy. Out of the ones that you put up, Bielsa, you won't come, because Bielsa has never started at a club mid-season. He always wants a pre-season with the team before he'll even consider taking.
Yeah, sorry, Leon, your vote's out, mate. Yep.
Will Still, losing Ream, he's done really well, but he hasn't got his manager's license. Ream will be getting fined something like €25,000 a game.
Are they really?
He hasn't got he hasn't got a manager. He hasn't got a training license, has he?
Unbelievable, isn't it? He's only 30, isn't he, this kid?
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so that's 2 votes for Paddy. Nick?
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit left field. Out of that list you had there, I'm going to go with one that's not on that list in a minute. My dream would be Pochettino, but we're never going to be able to afford him. Okay. Will Still does interest me a little bit, but Theresa's absolutely on the money, which she says he hasn't got his full badges yet. Okay. And the one I'm going to go with, it's not on that list, is Conte from Tottenham. Because you need somebody with a bit of passion.
Conte is not going to come to Crystal Palace, let me tell you that, for nothing. There we are. Jill, you're holding your head. You cannot believe what Nick Philpott has just said.
I agree. I'd let Paddy go through to the end of the season. I think he'll build a stronger rapport with the players, and what will be will be. But next year, listen, if he does work a miracle, then maybe keep him there. But if I had to choose one from that list, I couldn't. 2. That's what I'd go for. That Ralph Hasenhüttl, whatever his name is, Hootle, for the old Southampton manager. Purely because I always loved his work ethic, and a mate of mine is a Southampton season ticket holder, and he said that he for 40 years, and he said he never saw a Southampton team work as hard or be as fit as what they were, and he didn't suffer fools. You were either in or you were out. Or like I said the other day, he's got Premier League experience, and he wouldn't be everyone else's first choice, I'm sure. But I think Steven Gerrard, I think he's got, I think sooner or later he will pick up a team, a lower team, and I think he'll run a bit. And obviously, his aim is to manage Liverpool one day, so he doesn't want to be too far away from the Premier League. Irrespective of whereabouts it is, he's never going to get Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Spurs. He's never going to get anything like that. But I think he would come to a team in the middle of the Premier League, which is, maybe, hopefully, what we are.
Who knows? We're going to have to wrap this up very shortly. I'll come to you in a minute, Nick. Interestingly, I saw on my laptop screen today, Microsoft screen, the headline was Gerrard selected for new job. So I clicked on it. His new job is a TV pundit with Channel 4 covering England.
Go for that.
That was newsworthy. Greg Ellis said, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. There's a guy on Twitter, Euro Expert, if you haven't come across him, Euro Expert _ He's a young lad, bit geeky. He does videos of various aspects of European football. And he's done this brilliant one. He did it on Thursday. He said Vieira is on the brink of getting sacked from Crystal Palace. This is who I think should replace him. And he gives reasons. It's about 2 or 3 minute watch. And his summary is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. And he gives all kinds of good reasons. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it on Twitter. Euro Expert, really interesting, I thought. Okay, guys, we're going to have to wrap this up now very soon because we've been going an hour. Patrick Vieira had to go. Our possession stats for last season were 51.4. This year it's 43.9. That's a damning indictment as to where we are as a football club. We've gone backwards. If you look at Vieira and you look at the 18 months, ask yourself the question, has any Crystal Palace player improved dramatically in those 18 months? And the answer you'd probably say is probably not. Maybe Mark Gahey, maybe Elise, but we're not sure. So no player has moved forward in 18 months. I think the coaching was at fault, and no wins this year, and he had to go. And I feel a lot better about it now than I did on Friday morning. So we've got Leicester City up next. We haven't got time to look at selection of players for that game, but we'll do a quick round on predictions for the game. Theresa, 1st of April, April Fool's Day, we play Leicester at home in the Premier League. What's the score going to be?
2-1 Palace.
2-1 to Palace. Okay, Ferg?
2-1.
Yeah, he always says 2-1. Do you know what? Fergus puts a bet on 2-1 every single game, Palace. So he'll always say 2-1 every game. Gel?
I was going to go 2-1 as well. Doesn't Richard Kingdom do 3-1 every game? Who's your mate?
Yeah, he was. He does.
There we go.
Ben Teke for score.
Nick, what are you saying?
So, do you know what? I can't argue with a 2-1. And don't forget the Charlie thing here.
Yeah, okay. Cool. I'm just going to finish on that. So that's 5 votes for 2-1 on the panel. We're going to say 2-1. Do you know what? I don't care what the result is so long as we jolly well win. And it's going to be a big game. But we've got a nice break between now and then. I mentioned the Women's Football Weekend at the top of the show. Do get along to Hayes Lane if you possibly can. But I'm going to end the show tonight, lads, on a bit of sad news. So John Ellicott, who's a Crystal Palace programme seller, very sadly, his 9 or 10-year-old son passed away this weekend. It's never nice when a child passes away. It's not the right order of things. So we're very sad for John and his family. So our thoughts and prayers are with you, mate. And fly high, young eagle, Palace fan. So very, very sad for young Charlie and the family, especially at this time. So that's all from me. We're back again on Sunday, the 2nd of April, after the Leicester game. I'm sure Nick will be back in the hot seat then. Until then, it's goodbye from me. And thanks for joining. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a very good evening. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.